There's a few things I'll touch on, and I love that question, when people ask, like, how can we help, what should we be doing? And I think Jesse, gave a great response on that. I do a lot of political work. We have another agency that we run out of our office that does political campaigns. And I joke with people because I'm like, before I started working with brown candidates, I sure won more. You know what I mean? Like, I won a lot more when I was working with white candidates than I do now, because now I really try hard to work with candidates who are people of color and try to get them into elected position. But man, I sure lose a lot, right? And some of that has to do with there's a lot of growth that needs to still happen in our communities in terms of the candidates that we're putting forth, right? But a lot of it has to do is that, when the candidate is a person of color, it's amazing how the infrastructure disappears that should be there to help support them. I mean, it's wonderful what happened in the States with, all of the women of color that got elected to the House. I think that's an amazing step forward. We'll see what happens with that. And, we've made those steps here as well. But I'm telling you, still on the ground in terms of getting that support for, actually, I'll give you another. So Diversity Magazine, which is, if you don't know about it, they do great work. They had a panel earlier this year with all representatives from all 4 provincial parties came, which is the first time I've ever seen that happen. Representatives from all 4 provincial parties come to a panel at a location where the audience is going to be mostly people of visible minorities. I've never seen that happen, but all 4 parties sent representatives. And, everybody in the audience was a person of color who either had run before or is very politically engaged. So, we went through, asked the questions, all the rhetoric about how they all support people of color and want them as candidates and blah, 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 blah. And then someone asked the question, but which one of your parties actually has it in your constitution that you will support reserved positions for, et cetera, that it's actually in your constitution that you will do this? Because otherwise, it's all just words, right?
That's right.
And only one of the 4 said that it was actually in their constitution. Everybody else was still looking into it, right? So it's that kind of stuff, right? It's just, and I think that people of color their voices are getting stronger to ask these kind of questions. I don't think anybody would have asked that question maybe 10 years ago. Another great example I'll give you, in the last municipal election in 2017, there was a very competitive riding that happened, and one of the women that was running was a person of color that was working for a long time to try to win that seat. And another white female came in and she won. And this person, I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to call anyone out. You know who it is. So anyway, the woman of color who lost wrote an open letter to the woman who won and said, because of your privileged background, you have no idea. I don't think you have any idea of what the constituents you are representing, what their lives are like. It's a big open letter. She said a lot more things. Now, it was really interesting because my first reaction as a political strategist was like, whoa, your political career is over. You're done, poor loser, da-da-da-da-da, right? And then I started thinking about it more and asking my friends and other people of color what they thought. And it was amazing the response I got. Everybody was like, no, we need to speak that way. Like, why are we adopting, this polite way of speaking and you can't say what's on your mind? It's actually, for most of us, it's not a part of our culture. You know what? In our cultures, like when I see my aunt for the first time after a few months, she'll be like, you're fat. And she doesn't mean that in a negative. No, she says that to me. Are you kidding? I wouldn't be sitting here if I said that to my aunt. Yeah, exactly. No, I wouldn't be sitting here if I said that to my aunt. And she'll say that to me, and I don't mind it, right? Because she's saying it out of love, right? She's saying it because she doesn't want to mince words, and she's concerned about my health, and she wants me to get in shape, and and she's pointing something out. So she doesn't say, hey, have you been going to the gym, or she just comes out and says it, right? And interestingly enough, I'll remember that, and that will make me want to go to the gym and get myself in shape than all the other people who kind of skirted around the subject, right? So it was very interesting that people said, we need to start communicating in the way that's comfortable for us, in the way that we were brought up. It's also funny, in our office here, our controller, he's from a similar background as me, he's Pakistani, and he's like, whenever I lose my temper, raise my voice, he's like, that's my whole life. He's like, my parents have been yelling at me like that, and that doesn't bother me. Yeah, he's like, my parents have been yelling at me since the day I was born. It doesn't bother me, right? So I was like, that's so interesting, right? Because other people are just like, oh, the boss is a bully, oh, the boss yells, and things like that. But he's like, I'm not fazed by that at all. Like, that's how my parents communicate.